Hello folks, welcome back. So in the previous session, you got a first look at pandas and learn about series and data frames. In today's session, we'll dive deeper into the heart of data analysis, the pandas data frame. So we'll learn how to create data frames from scratch using CSV files. We'll also see how to access, filter and sort data. And we'll also use a group by and describe for quick summaries. Now let's see how to import data from a CSV file. df is equal to pandas pd dot read underscore csv students dot csv. Right, so this is the data frame. Right, now let's look at the structure of the data frame and what are the top 5 observations. So the top 5 observations are the Arav, Meera, Divya, Ravi and Sneha, and the different columns that I have here is the name, class, marks and grade. Now I can also use to check the last 5 observations. Right, so these are the last 5 observations that we have here. Totally I have only 6 records. Right, so when I give head, this will show the top 5, the first 5 records from the data frame. And what is a name? It's a column. In other words, this is the pandas series. Class is also a column, or in other words, the pandas series. Now, how to access columns and rows? How to access the columns and rows? Right, to access the columns, I'm going to say df name, capital N. Name. So df of name, this will help me to access a single column from this data frame df. Now accessing a single column, this has become a series. How to access multiple columns, like we have seen in the previous session, I'll have to pass the column names in a list. Name, comma, class. Right, so name, comma, class. Right, so name, comma, name and class. So in a data frame that I have name and class 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so this is the entire data frame that I have. Now how to access these rows? Right, how to access a row? To access a row, df dot iloc 0. iloc indexed base filtering. iloc of 0. The first index, the first row is filtered and it is showing me here. The name is Arav, class 10A, and what is the marks, right? So we had the marks, right? Marks, what is the marks? Marks 85 and grade B. Right, marks 85 and grade B. Right, so this is what we have here. And let's print df.loc 1. Right, so what is LOC and iloc? Now this is giving me index based, this is giving me the string based. Right, so I'll use LOC. Right, so this is a row access by label. By label, this is by index name. LOC is nothing but label based location. I'll mention it here. Label based location. Label based location is what that we want to use. So these are used when your data frame has a custom index or labeled index. Right, so how will we do it? Say for example, I'm going to have this df. Okay, and I want to make id. Right, so I want to add one more column here. I'm sorry. So in other words, if I want to access multiple rows, right, so using this index, right, so I'll give dot loc. What will I do? Square bracket 0, 3, 5. Right, so this is Arav, class 10A, marks, grade. And Ravi, what is the marks? Karan, what is the marks? Right, so how to access multiple rows? Right, so how to access a specific element? Right, so to access a specific element, df.loc 5, comma, marks. Right, so I have 88. Right, so 5, the current marks is 88. Right, so that's what here it is. Right, so now I want to make name as an index. Right, so how will I make a name as an index? Right, so I'll let's use this from the pandas. There are multiple ways of doing it. Right, so pandas.read CSV. I'll take the students data frame, students.csv, comma, index column is equal to name. Index column is equal to name. I'll call it as df named so that we can overcome the confusion. Now let's print df named. Right, now we can see here, or let's just remove this print. Right, now this name has become as an index. So index column I've given here. Now if at all I want Ravi's information, I'll use loc df named dot loc and Ravi. Right, Ravi. Right, so the class is 10b, marks 92, grade A plus. Right, so the Ravi's information I've captured here. Now if I want Ravi's grade, right, so how will I get that? So df named dot loc Ravi comma grade. What is the grade that Ravi has got? So Ravi has got A plus grade. Ravi has got A plus grade. So this is what we call it as an label based location, label based indexing. Now there's another thing, right? So dot iloc. Dot iloc. So what is this dot iloc? I call this as an integer based position or integer position based access. Right, so integer position based access. Now how will I do this? The similar example, if I want to access this first row, so we have this df, right? So if I want to access this first row, df dot iloc 0. That means rf class 10a, marks 85 and grade. So I can use dot iloc. This is nothing but an integer position based access. Right, so if I want to access rows from 2 to 4, right, how will I do that? Df dot iloc 2 to 4 or 5, which should I give? 2 is inclusive, 5 is exclusive. That means 5 minus 1, 4. Right, so df dot iloc 2 to 4. So Divya, Ravi and Sneha. Right, so these are the names that we can display here. So Divya, Ravi and Sneha. Right, so all these 3 names can be extracted. I have sliced it and I have extracted here. Now if I want to access a specific row and column, how will I access a specific row and a column? Right, so if I want Ravi's grade 3, 3. So this is where the confusion arises. Right, so I do not know what is 3. So instead of which I could use an dot loc, where we have used the same example, Ravi's grade. Right, Ravi and grade. I cannot use a label here. That's the problem. I should always use this index. Right, I may not be able to understand, count the indexes in real time. Right, so when there are many columns. So that's the difference between LOC and ILOC. Right, so that's the benefit. Right, so if I want to directly use this, the indexes, I could use ILOC. If I want to use the labels, I'll use the LOC. So these are the 2 important methods that we need to know. Now let's also see how to filter the data. Filtering data. how to filter the data. So we have df marks. So who has scored more than 80? Right. So now let's see df. We have marks. Who has scored more than 80 marks? Arav has scored, therefore true. Meera has scored, true. Divya has not scored, so it is false. Ravi has scored, true. Sneha has not scored, false. Karan has scored, true. Right? So this will return in Boolean. This is conditional. So whoever has scored more than 80, this will return in Boolean outcome. Now let's subset it. Right? Subset it. So the moment I give df of this Boolean, whichever rows were true, only those will be shown here. Right? So whichever is true, only those will be shown here. Right? So similarly, now let's take another example. I want to extract students with grade A. Right? So df grade double equal to A. Double equal to A. So who all has scored A grade? Right? So exactly A grade, not A plus. Right? So I cannot give greater than and all. Right? So it may not know A plus is greater than A. That's not possible. I want to exactly know which all students have scored and grade A. Right? So this was the total. So Meera has scored and Karan has scored. Rest are all false. Right? So only 2. If I want to subset it, or in other words, I want to display only these 2 records. How will I do that? Select all, give a square bracket and put df before it. Right? So we were able to subset these 2 records alone, name, class, marks and grade. So Meera and Karan we have. Right? So we are able to filter the data using this. Only Meera and Karan. Now let's sort the data. Sorting data. How will I sort the data? df, I have df dot sort values. df dot sort values by marks. I'll sort the values by marks. Right? So by marks. Right? So that's what. So by default, it will do an ascending order sort. Now, if you are going to ask me, how will I do the descending order sort? df dot sort values by marks, and I'm going to give ascending is equal to false. Right? So there is no descending is equal to true. It's either ascending is equal to true or ascending is equal to false by default. Right? So if you look at this help, where is this ascending? Ascending by default it is true. How will I get this help? Within the bracket, I'm going to press shift plus tab. Shift plus tab will help me with this help option. Right? So you can go down here. You can see the ascending is equal to true by default. Okay. Now, if you give ascending is equal to true or not, it will take the default value. Ascending is equal to true. Right? So now I'm giving ascending is equal to false. So it doesn't descending order sort. There is no descending is equal to true. It's either ascending is equal to true or false. Now let's do the grouping data with group by. How will I do this? Grouping data with group by. How will I do the grouping data? I'll do df dot group by. Right? So I'll group by with respective to grade. What is that we need to remember? So group by is used to group rows. right? I need to group rows in a data frame based on one or more columns. I'm going to group rows, group by grade, using multiple rows. Therefore, group by will be done on in category called column. Grade is in category. We have A plus, A, B, B plus and C. Okay. It's done on a categorical column to do and summary stats, right? So to apply an operation like sum, mean, count, right? So I can give dot mean, group by dot mean. So what will it do? Wherever there is a numerical attribute, we have an marks here, right? So I'm getting an error here, the aggregation function fail. Okay, now I need to subset it with respect to grade and marks, right? Now, so whenever there is a numerical column, right? So the marks is a numerical column with respective to all the grades. If I had millions of rows of A's and A plus, it would have taken the average marks for A, average marks for A plus, B, B plus and C, right? So this is a very simple example. So group by should always be followed by an summarization function. It can be sum, mean, median or any aggregation functions it can follow, right? So it can also take any different summarization functions, right? So you can also do the count operation here. So how many do I have, right? So there are 2 records who has A grade, 1 record for A plus, 1 record for B, 1 record for B plus and 1 record for C, right? So this groups by the grade and counts how many students are there in each and every grade, right? So if at all I want to do multiple aggregations, right? So if at all I want to do multiple aggregations, so how can I do that? df dot group by, with respect to the class, I'm going to give aggregation function, right? So I want to take the marks and I want to perform mean, max and min. So here there is only 1 record, but still we'll see how to do it. Name and count, right? So summary is equal to this. Now let's print summary, right? So instead let's run it. So we have a summary. So for the different classes 10A, 10B and 10C, we had 3 sections, right? A, B and C. So we have the average marks, max marks, min marks and the total count of students that's present in each of the records. So instead of one aggregation function, we had the count and mean. Now I have taken mean, max, min as well as count. It's how I've counted the names, right? So how one multiple aggregation function can help us to do. So .agg lets you apply multiple functions per column, right? Group by groups the rows based on unique values in 1 or more columns, and mean, sum and count, these operations are applied to each and every group. .agg used to apply multiple functions at once, and this returns a new grouped data frame or in series, right? So that's what it does, right? So at last the data frame can perform the summary statistics using this describe function, right? So the describe will show me all the numerical attributes and the famous 5-point summary: minimum, first quartile, second quartile, third quartile and maximum. Along with that, it will also show the count, mean and standard deviation. Now we have seen how to create an important data frame, how to filter and sort data, how to use and group by and describe the and to extract the insights. So this is the foundation of real world data science workflows, especially when cleaning and analyzing the messy data. So as a takeaway, I want you to perform these 3 different tasks. I want you to create in CSV with 5 students name, class, marks and grade. and import it and print only names with the marks above 80 and perform the count the students using group by, sort by the class, use describe to get the full summary. That whatever we have done, use it with your own 5 different names and try the same. So in the forthcoming session, we'll have the final project and wrap up. So we are going to build an AI driven project like resume keyword matcher, and we'll recap all the concepts that we have learned and the guidance to the next steps, advanced Python, LLMs, and the projects, and what is the way to proceed forward. Thank you and stay tuned.